Hello folkies, how are we getting on? I hope you're keeping fine and I hope you're keeping safe. Apologies, it's been a wee while since I last did one of these, forgive me. Things just got a bit overwhelming, and we all know it's not just one thing, it's a series of things. And some stuff went on and I just suddenly realised, and I can't myself, I was getting overwhelmed, so I needed to take a wee step back. Because it's okay to not be okay, and I knew that I wasn't okay, so I had to go and just look after myself. Because that's important, folks. You know, self-care is not selfish. There's absolutely nothing wrong with putting yourself first and looking after yourself, because you can't help others if you're not fit in yourself. And I recognise that. There's no point in just coming on and firing up and doing things just for the sake of doing things if there's no point, rhyme, or reason to it. Because I always like to have something to share with you folks, just so that whatever it is that you're facing and whatever it is that you're going through, there is hopefully something in these messages that you can grab and take away and go and use in your own lives. Because that's the biggest, most important message. It's in the title. What do I want? I don't want a world of any lost souls. I want to see no more lost souls. It's as simple as that. It's in the title right there. And that's what these are about. And unfortunately, folks, I didn't have the energy to do that for you. And I hate doing that because I feel like I'm letting you down. But I promise I'll always keep trying my best. And in case you're wondering, what was the one that kind of got on top of me a bit recently? Because we're all honest here, folks. We share about how we feel. We speak about how we feel. Free of stigma, free of bullshit. No condemnations, no judgments, just listening. And I was just having a wee chat, because I'm very grateful to have chats with everybody speaking about this. And just I played with somebody, and it kind of got me between the eyes when the crux of the matter is they felt that I wasn't doing enough here with what was going on. You know, they're not seeing changes, they're not seeing this, they're not seeing that. And I appreciate your concern. There's some fights that you think, yes, it's a good fight and I'm going to kick off with, and there's others you're just like, no, this isn't a place to have a battle. I quietly thank them for their concerns. I do appreciate it. You know, I do worry that, you know, I'm not doing enough, I'm not shouting loud enough, whatever. I promise in my heart of heart though, folks, I am doing my best. The best I can give you is the best that I'm doing, you know. But it did hurt, because you know, once the conversation kind of drew to a conclusion, I was like, well, I'd just like to qualify a few things, you know, before we end this and go away. I says, I'm very grateful for your faith. I do appreciate that so much. It's great that folks have faith in you, that it gets you through a lot. I says, but you must please remember that I have never proposed myself as the answer and solution to these problems. Absolutely not once, ever. I'm somebody affected by bipolar disorder. I'm ill. And I'm just somebody raising their hands and going, excuse me, hello, over here, please, we're needing help here in Caithness. That's what I'm doing. Just a voice above the trenches and going, oh, please don't forget about us, you know, we're here, we exist. I says, and it does take a lot of energy to do that, you know, when you're fighting your own demons of the soul. And, you know, as much as I'd like to have knee-jerked and says, well, you know, if you don't think I'm doing good enough, why don't you do it yourself? But that's not me. You see, that's why, you know, if you wonder, I get quiet and retreat into myself. Yeah, maybe life would have been easier for me if I'd told some people to just F off. But my mind is, I have no right or place to say horrible, shitty things to people. Certainly feel and think I'm only human, but it's not my bag to rant and rave and fight with people. You know, I'd rather have an open and honest discourse, because I feel enlightenment comes through discussion, not shouting at people. And, you know, yes, I'm not ranting and shouting and raving at every councillor, MSP and whatever, because I don't feel the need to do so, folks. You know, it's in the newspaper today, more phone call-outs, you know, for the police getting involved with, you know, responding to mental health call-outs in today's paper. The last time that I spoke to the newspaper, when I'd gotten the information released to me, there was over nearly 340, if not 350 plus. It was an insanely high number for the amount of call-outs last year in Caithness. You basically had a phone call of somebody in distress to the police every single day last year across Caithness. That's a huge number, folks. That's a lot of human souls. That's 365 at least human souls suffering. And the police are not trained to or equipped to deal with that. They're law enforcement agents, you know, and having a mental breakdown isn't a criminal thing. So what do? Well, we don't have that service up here. So obviously somebody in distress, the first number you phone is 101 or 999 and you phone the police. And I'm sorry if there's anybody in the system, that the powers that be, that doesn't think the system's overburdened. We can't even call an ambulance out for somebody in emotional and mental distress. It's a police officer. Now, That can be quite psychologically devastating. You know, you're in a crisis and it's a police officer at the door. I've not done anything wrong, I'm not a criminal. So you start knee-jerking, you start panicking, you start perhaps getting defensive, and situations have what's called a negative outcome. Somebody kicks off and they end up in a cell. It came from a place of concern. You know, we are known as individuals, persons of concern, persons of vulnerability. But the police aren't there to deal with that. That's not their job, that's not their place. So completely and utterly, they're overwhelmed. Of course, then there's another article about the mental health crisis, and it has existed in Caithness for at least 25 years, folks. Let's not gild that lily. And that's what I also said to that person, you know, again, grateful for the faith that has been put in me and No More Lost Souls for doing this. But you cannot put the pressure, and certainly not assign the blame and onus upon one individual to get it all sorted. Absolutely not. I like to see what's going on here as a fulcrum. We have a problem, I'm identifying the problem, I'm trying to move it to the persons, people, agencies, organisations that can look towards resolving that problem, and that is the council, NHS, Highland, and etc. Far greater and far higher powers than just me, Stephen Sheffield, sitting here in my room talking to you. And the one that stuck out at me in the article, you know, especially like, you know, how do we stop the youth, the youngsters of today turning to criminal activities and violence? Well, here's what's the problem, folks. And I'll say it in clear as possible terms, and it hasn't changed in the last 3 years, and the statement stays the same. We need to return hope, 4-letter word, H-O-P-E. We need to return hope to the community of Caithness and ultimately across the Highlands and full stop across Scotland, because there is quite a most horrific sense of hopelessness in society right now. And you must be blind, and I'm wearing glasses if you can't see that. You know, yes, there are activities for young individuals to do. Well, as a former young BAM, which I think I can still get away with saying to myself, I wasn't a sporty, so going to sports-based events was the last thing I wanted to do. And that's not decrying those who are sportistically minded. That's your bag, fine, fantastic, great, good for you, grateful. But if you're not that kind of kid, and let's face it, I'm using a mobile phone right now, I'm using a smartphone, whatever the heck you want to call this telephonic communications device. That's the society you're dealing with. Kids on their phones. TikToks, Facebook probably not so much anymore. YouTube. Society has changed massively in the last 2 decades. And you can't continue using systems that didn't work 20 years ago and pretend that they're going to work now. A kid in distress that's feeling like absolute emotional shit is not going to go to the youth club and hang out with their friends and say what they're saying. They just don't, okay? They're going through a horrifically confusing time of their life. They hit puberty and they're like, oh, who am I? What am I going to become? What's ahead of me? What's behind me? All the societal pressure to be this, that, and the other. Where's the problem? People are refusing to acknowledge it. All this stress, all this pressure. And I've never said that it hasn't not existed, folks. But society has become incredibly isolated of late. You know, instead of reaching out to somebody that you see in the street in distress, we tend to just turn and walk away because we're afraid that we might interfere and do the wrong thing and upset somebody. Fear, the total opposite of hope, is what is destroying people on a very, very intrinsic, metaphysical, and ultimately physical level. You know? There was buildings falling down in Thurso the other week. That's horrifying. Our society is crumbling down around our ears. The roads aren't fit to drive on. Cars are getting... Just, where is a young person... Because I'm 34, I'm an old fart now. Where's a young person going to look at Caithness and go, oh, chings, this is somewhere I want to be. This is something I want to contribute to. This is a community that I want to be a part of. No, they see very little to hold on to. And they look for the grass being greener on the other side. There's why there's depopulation, folks. If there's nothing to keep them here, what are you going to stay for? You're going to go. I thought that was the answer. I went off to Edinburgh and studied and thought that I could achieve something down there and come back and whatever. Didn't happen, okay? That's just life. But it's the utter sense of hopelessness. You know, the other part of the article, they would stay if there was offers of jobs. Exactly. If you're not seeing places opening and staying open, what the heck are you going to hang around for? Excuse me. And I don't think I'm saying anything that's completely mad and out with the realms of sphere of understanding, you know? How do you engage with them? Will you listen to them? You don't tell them what they need. You most certainly don't tell anybody what they need. The individual knows what they need. They need to be asked so that the answer can be brought forth. And I don't have those answers, folks. As I said to the person that said that I'm not doing enough, I don't have the spiritual, mental, or physical energies. to start up and run and maintain individual support groups and all the rest of it. So I'm very grateful for things like Listening Ear getting started during the pandemic and what have you. That's something fantastic. That's something that was created from Caithness, by the people of Caithness, for the people of Caithness. But that's not what this and what I'm doing for my friend who ultimately took their life by suicide. That's not what this is about. The honest core of what this is for is so that a mum doesn't have to go and find their child dead as a result of suicide. That's what sparked this off. I'll never be able to take my friend back. I'll never be able to take away my other friend, their mum, who's like my second mum. I'll never be able to take that pain away from them, folks. You know, when anybody's worried it's about an ego trip or praise or however many likes it is on Facebook, so no, it's the utter horror, and I'm not gonna cry, but I can certainly feel like it. You might hear it in my voice. That I can't take back these precious people from my friends and make them happy again. What I can do is continue to fight to make sure that it doesn't happen to anybody else. Because it affects everybody. It's not just the individual, it's their families, their friends, it's everyone around them. You know, friends who leave behind their children and all the rest of it. That's all I'm trying to do, is make sure that those kids don't feel the hopelessness that their parents, grandparents, great-grandparents felt, and that they left this world because they felt that there was no hope left in it for them, and that they were better off taking themselves away from this world instead of staying here. And I don't see why it's hard for people to understand, folks, you know? Mental illness has clearly been part of society since time immemorial. You read the ancient holy texts about folk being mad and crazy with demons. Well, perhaps the one who was seeing visions and demons would be described perhaps now as one as suffering from schizophrenia, or a borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, horrific anxieties. We don't know until you have a way to correlate and understand and describe it and qualify it. You don't know. And century after century of just burying heads in the sand and pretending it doesn't exist, stigmatising, it's still a last one, you know. I still hate, like, I'm psychologically presenting it. I'm worried about sometimes still even now, telling people that I'm affected by bipolar, because I'm worried and afraid that they will look upon me as something as less than human. That I'm no longer their brother, their son, their friend, their cousin. That I'm weak, that I'm broken, that there's just something horrifically wrong with me, and that I don't deserve to be part of this society. Now that's the illness and the disease of my brain telling me that. The logical side, Mr. Spock, you know, Mr. Sheffield, who are affected by an illness. This is not true, these are not factual statements. Unfortunately, Mr. Spock's not always at home and I start believing this rubbish, and that's just me, the I statements. I don't speak for everyone, I can only speak for me. And, you know, as I keep driving at, folk will talk about 1,001 other physical things wrong with their body, but they won't talk about the supercomputer. And, you know, if we're not convincing people that it's okay to talk about their mental health, and then we're putting them into a situation of hopelessness, what does one expect is going to happen? It's not hard. It's not difficult. What does Caithness need? A lot better than the deal it's getting, and that's Caithness and Highlands, but of course, Highlands is huge. I'm fighting for Caithness and the people of Caithness because they deserve so much better. If Caithness could be a shining leading light in all this, it would be the prime example of how to do things properly. But it's not, and I don't like not being positive about this community because it's a fantastic community, folks. You're so much greater and more wonderful and awesome, and words that have not been yet invented to describe just how incredible you are and what the difference that you make in this world, because you're battling your mental illness and you're still existing, you're still here, you're still going to work, you're still hanging out with your friends, you're still being there for your family, you're still looking after your animals. You are still contributing so much to this society while facing an illness that we still do not in the 21st century understand fully. And if that's not strength and something to be so incredibly fucking proud of, I don't know what is, folks. And you should be proud of yourself. If you get one thing at any of these messages, any of these videos, as I am so grateful for the faith in me. I have faith in you, folks, because you've shown me that it's there. And I'll never forget. And I think that's maybe a good place to draw this one to a conclusion. Let's end it on a positive. You are something special, folks. You're some kind of wonderful. Yeah, you are. That's a good song. So I'll try and get this uploaded. I'll get this posted. The whole month is Mental Health Awareness Month, but as far as I'm concerned, this page is 365 days a year of mental health awareness. And I've got some extra stuff to share about all different kinds of mental illness and stuff, just so that people know they're not alone, but what they're facing is an illness. It has always been an illness, and it should be treated as such. And that means compassion, care, kindness, and understanding. And you know, if you get those things, you can give people back hope. And if you give people back hope, then maybe things start to get better. So, folks, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, please, thanks so very much for listening. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being you. Look after yourselves. Look after each other. And I hope to come back again and do this for you very soon. And hopefully we're alive, okay? All my love. Take care. Speak soon. Bye for now.